If you truly knew the resilience it took, you'd understand why I had to keep moving forward. If you truly knew how much I've given, you'd understand why it was time to give to myself. If you truly knew how many times I stayed silent, you'd understand why I had to finally speak my truth. If you truly knew how much I value growth, you'd understand why I couldn't stay where I was. If you truly knew how long I've wrestled with doubt, you'd understand why I had to make this change. If you truly knew the peace I'm seeking, you'd understand why I had to leave what was holding me back. If you truly knew my heart, you'd understand why I had to follow it, no matter how scary it seemed. If you truly knew the depth of my dreams, you'd understand why I couldn't keep them buried any longer. If you truly knew my story, you'd understand why I needed this moment to redefine my own narrative. If you truly knew the weight of my choices, you'd understand why I had to choose what felt right to me. If you truly knew my journey, you'd understand why I had to trust myself this time. If you truly knew how much I've learned, you'd understand why I couldn't unlearn those lessons anymore. If you truly knew how hard I've fought for my peace, you'd understand why I had to protect it at all costs. If you truly knew my soul, you'd understand why I had to let go of what no longer fit. If you truly knew my dreams, you'd understand why I had to walk a path that felt right for me. If you truly knew the journey I've been on, you'd understand why I had to embrace the unknown. If you truly knew how much strength it took, you'd understand why I made this leap. If you truly knew the burdens I've carried, you'd understand why I had to release them. If you truly knew the hope I still have, you'd understand why I had to follow it, even through the darkness. If you truly knew how much I've sacrificed, you'd understand why it was time to sacrifice no more. If you truly knew my heart, you'd understand why I had to protect it at all costs. If you truly knew the lessons I've learned, you'd understand why I couldn't stay the same. If you truly knew the peace I seek, you'd understand why I had to leave behind the chaos. If you truly knew my intentions, you'd understand why I had to make this difficult choice. If you truly knew the love I still carry, you'd understand why I had to set myself free. If you truly knew my values, you'd understand why I had to honor them, no matter the cost. If you truly knew the growth I've experienced, you'd understand why I couldn't keep shrinking. If you truly knew the courage it took to let go, you'd understand why I had to do it now. If you truly knew the depth of my emotions, you'd understand why I had to act on them. If you truly knew my dreams, you'd understand why I couldn't let them stay just dreams. If you truly knew the strength I found within, you'd understand why I had to trust myself. If you truly knew the healing I longed for, you'd understand why I had to make a change. If you truly knew how much I've endured, you'd understand why I couldn't endure it any longer. If you truly knew the vision I have for my life, you'd understand why I had to take that first step. If you truly knew my fears, you'd understand why I had to face them head on. If you truly knew my heart's desires, you'd understand why I had to chase them now. If you truly knew the battles I've fought, you'd understand why I finally laid down my arms. If you truly knew the future I dream of, you'd understand why I had to leave the past behind. If you truly knew how much I've learned, you'd understand why I had to put that knowledge into action. If you truly knew the love I have for myself, you'd understand why I had to honor that love. If you truly knew the depth of my faith, you would understand why I had to trust in a higher plan. If you truly knew the passion within me, you'd understand why I had to pursue it wholeheartedly. If you truly knew my inner strength, you'd understand why I couldn't remain where I was. If you truly knew the wisdom I've gained, you'd understand why I had to apply it in my life. If you truly knew my resilience, you'd understand why I had to rise from the ashes once more. If you truly knew the peace I crave, you'd understand why I had to create it for myself. If you truly knew how much I've grown, you'd understand why I couldn't fit in my old life anymore. If you truly knew the person I'm becoming, you'd understand why I had to let go of who I used to be. If you truly knew the love I hold for life, you'd understand why I had to live it fully. If you truly knew my struggles, you'd understand why I needed to break free from them. If you truly knew the clarity I've found, you'd understand why I couldn't ignore it any longer. If you truly knew how much I've overcome, you'd understand why I had to keep moving forward. If you truly knew me, you'd see the struggles I've hidden and understand why I made this choice to protect my peace, my heart, and my sanity. There are depths within me that few have ever seen. If you truly knew me, you'd know why I needed to take this step to heal myself. If you truly knew me, you'd understand the quiet battles I've fought and why this decision, painful as it seems, was the only way forward. I've carried secrets too heavy for anyone else to bear. If you truly knew me, you'd understand why I had no choice but to act. If you truly knew the depth of my pain, the silent tears, and the nights spent searching for meaning, you'd understand why I had to make this change. My heart has endured more than I let on. If you truly knew me, you'd understand why stepping away was an act of self-preservation. If you truly knew the path I've walked, you'd see why I needed to take a stand for myself, for my soul, for my future. What you see on the surface is just a fragment. If you truly knew me, you'd understand the sacrifices that led me here. I had to choose between staying silent in pain or finding my own voice. If you truly knew me, you'd understand why I chose the latter. If you truly knew my story, you'd realize that this was never about giving up. It was about breaking free. The weight of my own expectations was suffocating. If you truly knew me, you'd understand why I had to let go. If you truly knew the longing in my heart, you'd understand why I had to follow it, even if it meant letting some things go. If you truly knew the ache I carried, you'd understand why I had to set myself free. If you truly knew the sacrifices I've made, you'd understand why I couldn't continue on the same path. The battles I've fought are invisible to most. If you truly knew me, you'd understand why I had to walk away. If you truly knew how much I gave of myself, you'd understand why I finally had to give back to me. There's a part of me that's been screaming for change. If you truly knew me, you'd understand why I finally listened. If you truly knew how many times I doubted myself, you'd understand why I had to prove myself wrong. If you truly knew the dreams I held close, you'd understand why I had to take this step toward making them real. If you truly knew the courage it took, you'd understand why I made this move despite the fear. If you truly knew how much I've grown, you'd understand why I couldn't stay the same. If you truly knew the lessons I've learned, you'd understand why I couldn't ignore them any longer. If you truly knew how much I valued authenticity, you'd understand why I had to make this choice. If you truly knew the strength it took to leave, you'd understand why I had to go. If you truly knew my values, you'd understand why I had to stand by them, no matter the cost. If you truly knew the love I still carry, you'd understand why I had to let it go to find myself again. If you truly knew the weight of my silence, you'd understand why I had to finally speak up. If you truly knew the cost of staying, you'd understand why I chose the freedom of leaving. If you truly knew the depth of my longing, you'd understand why I couldn't ignore it anymore. If you truly knew how much I needed to heal, you'd understand why this step was necessary. If you truly knew the strength I had to muster, you'd understand why this moment was inevitable. If you truly knew the tears I've shed, you'd understand why I couldn't hold them back any longer. If you truly knew the dreams I've nurtured, you'd understand why I had to chase them now. If you truly knew how much I value truth, you'd understand why I had to embrace mine, no matter how hard. If you truly knew how long I stayed quiet, you'd understand why I had to find my voice. If you truly knew how much I've grown, you'd understand why I had to outgrow my old self. If you truly knew the love I still hold, you'd understand why I had to let go to find clarity. If you truly knew the dreams I've held back, you'd understand why I had to finally set them free. If you truly knew the depth of my gratitude, you'd understand why I had to move forward with a lighter heart. If you truly knew the peace I longed for, you'd understand why I had to take this step to find it. If you truly knew the path I've walked, you'd understand why I had to forge a new one. If you truly knew my values, you'd understand why I couldn't compromise them any longer. If you truly knew the battles I've faced, you'd understand why this decision was about survival. If you truly knew my journey, you'd understand why I had to make this choice for my well-being. If you truly knew my struggles, you'd understand why I had to make this leap of faith. If you truly knew the love I still hold, you'd understand why letting go was an act of love itself.